Hey there, friends. It's Nick, and this is episode 449 of the Story Hacker podcast. And I'm going to call this one "Dancing with Spiders." I think because I've just had this experience literally just before I pressed record. I mentioned a couple of days ago that I'm lighting the stove in the office now, and it's early in the morning here, and I've just come in to work, and I was lighting the stove, and I put the kindling in, and I, put a match to it, and then I put a couple of small pieces of wood on top, as you do. And then when I put this second piece of wood on top, this spider that I hadn't noticed, obviously, jumps off and runs towards the back of the stove, which, obviously as survival strategies go, is a very, very bad idea. And now, I guess there are some people, and we might call them sensible people or pragmatic people at least, who could let that go. But for me, it's a problem. If you've been listening for ages, if you've been listening since the start, you may remember episode 27. Seems like a long time ago now, where I'd run over a cat and tried to turn around and find it, but it had gone. But these things affect me deeply, and I think one of the things we need, whatever kind of story we're telling, whether we're writing a novel or we're running a business, is we need empathy. We need empathy because when we torture our characters in thrillers, we need to better put ourselves, in some sense, in their shoes, of course. But also when we're creating offers, when we're making products or designing services for our customers, our clients, our prospects, our tribe, whatever it is, we need the same. We need empathy. We need to put ourselves in their shoes and imagine, insofar as is possible, their lives, their needs, their wants, their aspirations, whatever it might be. And I mean that at a deep level, really. Anyway, I was imagining what this spider was going to go through at a deep level this morning. Over the weekend, Wendy, who was doing some ironing, managed to iron her hand. We joked about trying to get the wrinkles out, but the bottom line is, as you know, when you burn yourself, even slightly, the pain is intense, right? And I was thinking about this spider, and what we had in the stove was some gentle flames, but just in the middle. And what I ended up doing, because I could have put the flames out, right? I could have got some water and doused the flames. But I don't think that would have solved the problem, because the spider would still have been in there, in this terrible place to be. I mean, not only is there fire in there, but there are no flies, right? So it's not a good place for a spider. So what I ended up doing in this crazy kind of thing is doing this little dance, sort of moving this flame around, or at least the wood that was on fire, the small pieces of wood that were on fire, around the base of the stove, essentially to try and get the spider to move away and out. And that's what happened in the end. He's now safe. He's a bit freaked, I expect, but I ended up using the fire like a kind of, like a force field to push him out and around the fire. And when he came out, I cannot tell you, I mean, this is a tiny thing. It's much smaller than the size of the nail on my thumb. But when he came out, I was so happy. I was so happy and so relieved that I wasn't starting my day as a spider killer, but rather a spider whisperer. Anyway, funny thing to end on, I think, is that, I mean, obviously those early episodes of the podcast were a long time ago, but I think 27, the one about the cat, is one of the first times I realised that this podcast was about me telling stories, as opposed to just helping people tell stories. And rather like the fantastic thing about Neil Gaiman's Sandman, which is really a story about stories, this is a podcast about stories, about their telling and about them, and certainly about the story of how this business is developing over time. And I appreciate you listening. Thank you. And remember, your story means business.